Well, welcome to GlassCast, a podcast of the National Glass Association and Glass Magazine. I'm your host, Katie Devlin, here with my terrific colleague and co-host, Sarah Neiswanger. And in today's podcast, we are going to take a deep dive into glass inspection. Truly, we're going to get into the weeds a little bit, and it's going to be great. And we're here with Nate Huffman of Light Century Soft Solution and Strain Optics.
Yeah, so Nate, welcome. I gotta say, this is the first time we've done a podcast where we've been sent swag. So I'm so thrilled. We're both thrilled to be able to wear the shirts that were so popular that you when you brought them to GlassBuild last fall. So does this make my glass look flat? Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Who came up with that?
Yeah, absolutely. I will give all of that credit goes to our VP of Technology, Eric Hegstrom. He had the idea and actually had some of the original shirts printed up, brought them to one of the GlassBuild shows, and we liked them. And then people seemed to like them as well and asked where they could get them. So for the next Glass Tech show and GlassBuild show, we had a bunch printed up and we were giving them out, and they seem to have been a hit. So we're excited and proud of that.
Absolutely. Very clever.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for sending these our way. Very, very fun. So before we get started, I was, looking over your LinkedIn, and I noticed that you're a Purdue grad. And by the time this episode goes live, the tournament will be over or near over, but we're recording this on March 27th, just one day after Purdue topped Texas by 2 points in the Sweet 16. How are you feeling, Nate?
Well, I'm feeling a lot better today because of the W as opposed to the L. So I was actually flying home from another event, so I had to watch the entire game pretty much on my phone. It was a really good game, number one, and Purdue coming out on top made it all that much sweeter. So looking forward to the Elite Eight game against Arizona tomorrow, and hopefully by the time this airs, fingers crossed, maybe Purdue can pull off a miracle and might have a chip. So we'll see.
Yeah, well, that would do a number on my bracket that's already been pretty damaged, but that's all right. I would be cheering for you. So
for me, it would be a small sacrifice. I could have all my brackets busted if it meant Purdue to get a national championship. I would do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah, great. Well, as a basketball side, we are recording this pod in advance of NGA's brand new event for glass fabricators, GFAB, the NGA Glass Fabricator Conference. We're going to be coming to Chicago June 14th through 17th. You will be there with a number of your colleagues. And really, your team has been pretty instrumental in working with us on the NGA side to develop the GFAB workshop track, focusing on quality control in glass tempering.
Yeah, so Nate, can you give us a sense of what drew you to this event? What are you hoping attendees will take away from their time there?
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. Soft Solution, us as a group have been involved in events like this, from the inception, right, from day one. So, we're really appreciative of the NGA to keep us involved in that. And we're really looking forward to what we always are looking forward to, and that's number one, networking, right? Getting to see our customers, getting to talk with them in person, hear from them, share ideas, things like that. So we're really looking forward to that. What we really love about this event and GPAD in the past has always been that the people it brings into the event. It was always a place where you could get in front of decision makers, really talk with them, understand what their thoughts, what their needs are. So what I'm really excited about in this event is that we're expanding that audience, right, into this workshop. And now we're going to get not only the higher ups and decision makers in this event, but we're also going to bring in some of the floor personnel, production supervisors, furnace operators, things of that nature. So that's exciting for us. And the main thing that we really hope is that everybody comes away a little more educated and a little more enthused about quality control within the glass industry, and that they've got a good understanding of, what has been done historically and what's now available now that the future is here, and that we've got all these new technologies that can help, make what always used to be a manual process automated.
Well, and as we've been collaborating on this workshop track, and a huge shout out to Skyline Architectural Glass, based in Chicago, they are opening their doors for this workshop. We're actually going to be there at their tempering line. You all are installing an osprey, right, to right at the end of the line, so we can see this technology in action. But what we're doing there is showing in person the evolution of the industry from these manual processes for tempered glass quality control over to the automated systems that we're seeing today. So I want to talk a little bit about that, like the zebra boards to these inline measurements. The industry has come so far from someone just holding up a zebra board, just like this, right? And eyeballing
Yeah.
distortion. Can you talk through that evolution of visual inspection?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, historically, like I said, all of these things were done manually, right? And even before we had the manual instruments that we use today, it was all subjective. It was an operator standing at the back end of a furnace using their eyes. And until they got the zebra board there, they really didn't have much of anything other than those eyes to try to see what is very difficult for a human eye to see without specialized equipment. So the zebra board that you happen to have right there on your shirt is, does this make my glass look flat? That's where that whole idea stemmed from, was the historic zebra boards that were used. And now we have, the automated systems like the Osprey that you mentioned. So after the zebra boards and manual inspection, then came the gauges, the manual gauges, which were great. It's a step forward. You're actually getting data and quantified data that you can use to help make those decisions. But the process is slow. You're only sampling one out of a bunch of different pieces. And the part that you are sampling is only looking at a small portion of that light. It's not looking at the entire thing. So it is still a little subjective on who's operating that instrument as well, versus a system that is not going to be subjective. It's going to do the same thing over and over and over. And that was basically the evolution from the handheld gauges now to automated systems such as the Osprey. And the Osprey was, I believe, the first in the industry to be able to measure distortion in the glass in real time, and 100% of the light and 100% of every piece that comes through.
So I want to really get into the weeds here with our terminology. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
is it millidiopter or millidopter?
Millidiopters.
Millidiopters. All right, let's start with the term that most people outside of this industry might not have heard of. Can you explain
Okay.
what it is, why it matters, and why fabricators and even their architect clients should care about this?
Absolutely. So the easiest and most simplified way to explain a millidiopter is it's a way to quantify optical distortion. A lot of people every day deal with diopters. They just don't realize it. Katie, you and I both are sitting here looking through some instruments that use diopters to help improve sight. So a millidiopter is basically, like I said, optical power. So my glasses are minus 2.25. That minus 2.25 is diopters. We're measuring in a thousandth of a diopter. So we're measuring things that the human eye really can't detect. And what a diopter is, it's basically it's influenced by the curvature of the glass. Okay. So we are looking at the curvature of the glass. That is our first order measurement. And then we're using that to create this map of it. And why it's so important is because optical power, millidiopters, is what your eye sees. Okay. So you've got these manual instruments that are measuring what they call these peak to valleys. These peak to valleys are just the depth of those waves that you're going to see based on the rollers in the furnace. But a difference in that radius of curvature has a dramatic effect on what your eye actually sees. So you can have two pieces of glass that measure the exact same peak to valley measurement, but the optical distortion, whether it's magnification or demagnification, is stark, a huge difference. So that is what the Osprey does. It gives an objective data to opinions, right? So it's not somebody trying to subjectively say that's good or bad. It's quantifying that so you can make that decision without that subjectiveness. So basically, it's putting a number to what your customers are already seeing.
That's a really helpful analogy, actually. Though I'm not wearing glasses, I have contacts in at the moment. And the irony is, I have astigmatism, which is the curvature of your eyeball. So add that with curve in the glass, that would be quite a mess to try to sort through.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it.
So Nate, sometimes, if fabricators might assume that their customers aren't complaining, then they don't have a problem. What would you say to that off the top?
Well, right out of the gate, I'd say that's a little bit of a dangerous assumption, right? To say that you don't have any issues that you're not aware of. I mean, just because a customer doesn't complain doesn't mean that they're not having issues, right? So some issues don't get reported. So, if you're saying that, what you could be missing is a really nice tool for process control, because not only is it about the end quality of the product, but it's also a great process control tool. And what you want to do is you want to prevent a bunch of, hidden costs that come with not measuring these types of potential defects. You've got things like remakes that you're not seeing. You've got replacements. And if something escapes your plant and gets to the end customer, you're typically looking at minimum 3x the cost to get that piece back, remake it, and get it back out there. So, if you're already kind of paying for distortion in a sense, even if it's not a line item on a quote or anything like that. So just because, again, there's no complaints doesn't mean there's not a problem. And it doesn't mean that it can bring a lot of value from a process control standpoint.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of the added value, I think you've also discussed, using inspection equipment as a competitive differentiator. And even when it comes up in sales conversations with architects or contractors, can you tell us a little bit more about that perspective?
For sure. I mean, so obviously you've got the measured results of the glass itself, but then it's also a really strong sales tool. So if you're talking with, number one, for plant tours, right? If you're bringing anybody in, you're showing them around, they see this really nice state-of-the-art equipment with these really nice images, it's kind of an eye-opener. It's also a way to show your commitment to your customers, your commitment to quality. So that's a way that you can prove that quality with data. And, nowadays with these really high profile projects, these architects, they all want to see that data for all of their glass that they're coming in. So if an architect says, I want this data for this entire project, you're going to need some sort of automated equipment. And this gives you that opportunity to do so. If you don't have that, you might be losing jobs because you aren't able to provide that data that these jobs are requiring nowadays.
So to close out, let's look ahead at the future of these systems, the future of smart furnaces. You're seeing a shift toward real-time feedback loops between inspection systems and furnaces. What does that look like in the real world?
So that is the end game, right? Ultimately, that's, I think, where everybody wants to get to, is to have that real-time feedback, that real-time adjustments within the furnace, so that you take a little bit of the subjectivity away from your furnace operators. You've got that feedback loop. So any little tweaks, any little changes that it sees, it could automatically send that data and adjust the recipe that needs to take place. Are we there yet? We are not. But I know that there are many furnace manufacturers out there that are trying to tackle that issue. I know I've heard of some state-of-the-art systems that have been out there that are starting to utilize the AI within the system. So, we're not there yet, but systems like the Osprey, like our automated equipment, that's going to give you that data. That's what you're going to need to have that type of feedback loop to be able to make this an automated system in the future. So as we refine what we can do and the type of data that we can provide to our customers, we're also listening to the furnace manufacturer on what kind of data they would need to perhaps help make those adjustments to their recipes in real time without the need of the human interface there.
So what is your message to kind of your average fabricator, maybe your mid-sized fabricator that has yet to take this leap? I mean, how far away is this for a type of company like that?
That's a very tough question. The data that we have is here. I think that's really on the furnace manufacturers, and that's got a crazy amount of data that you would need to take in there and to account for. I think that's going to be the big challenge for them as opposed to us. We can help with that. We've got the data. Of course, we're always willing to work with these furnace suppliers and manufacturers. It's not going to be, I don't think, in the next 2 years, but maybe in the next 5 to 10, I could definitely see something out there. Like I said, I've heard some rumblings about such systems that are starting to utilize millions of data points to help, come along and use that to make adjustments. So we're not there yet, but this is the next best thing until we can get to that point. Instead of giving the feedback and our data to an AI system that then, interprets that, we're giving that to the furnace operators that are there in real time so that if anything changes, if they see anything out of the norm, they can instantaneously react and save as much product as they can.
Oh, that's very compelling, Nate. And so I think as we kind of wrap up here, if we could revisit GFAB one more time and just give us why should people attend?
If you want to come see an educational and networking event where you can learn about the latest state-of-the-art equipment, you can network with other companies in the same industry. One of the best parts about these events is the collaboration, right? Companies that might quote unquote be competitors are still working together. We all are trying to solve the same problems. So it's a great place to come, network, collaborate, get some new ideas, and think about the future of our industry.
Terrific. Yeah, it's not very often that we have such a hands-on experience for folks like what GFAB will offer. And so thank you for helping bring that to life as well. So we thank you for joining us on Glasscast and also for being an integral part of GFAB. We look forward to seeing you and your team in Chicago.
Likewise. Thank you guys, and thank you, the NGA, for letting us be a part of it. We're really looking forward to the event, and we're looking forward to see everybody in Chicago this June.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Nate. Go Purdue.
That's boiler up. Thank you. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks, Katie.